So today, we are going to do something pretty difficult. I'm not going to lie, this is a hard lesson, but I know that you are up for it. So what we're going to talk about today is the narrator's point of view. And we've already done so much work, right? We've been learning from published authors. We've learned how to narrow down watermelons to what? Too small? Seeds. And the biggest idea there is that a watermelon takes up way too much what? Way too much time. It starts with I woke up and I had waffles, and you end up going to bed at night. It's covered way too much time. We've also been learning so many ways to generate stories. Turn and tell your partner just one of those ways we've learned to generate story ideas. What's one way we learned? Okay, 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2. Okay, raise your hand. We've learned so many ways to generate story ideas so we don't have to stare at blank pieces of paper and ask ourselves, I don't know, pretty good about generating ideas, and all of us should have 3 to 4 drafts in our notebook. So today, we're going to move forward and we're going to pick one of our drafts, the one that you feel kind of the most connected to, the one you kind of want to work on and really take to completion, and we're going to start the revision process. So the revision process is going to start with telling the story from the narrator's point of view. So our target today is that what we want to be doing is we want to be adding some sensory details. We want to tell the details of the story exactly the way that we experienced it. But here's the trick. We want to make sure that all of these details are from the narrator's point of view. So here's your success criteria for today, that you've written at least 4 flash draft personal narratives in your digital notebooks before today, so that you can choose one of them, find a place in your writing where you've added some sensory details or where you can add some sensory details. Think about, gosh, are the sensory details that I've got in this story from my point of view, from the narrator's point of view? Can you add more sensory details from your narrator's point of view? And of course, can you share with your partner? So tell me how you feel about these success criteria. Does that look hard, easy, somewhere in between? Vote on the poll. So again, our learning target is to tell details using sensory imagery of the story exactly the way we experienced it at the moment from the narrator's point of view. So what in the world do I mean by this? Well, first of all, let's backtrack a little bit. What do I mean by sensory details? Okay, so a sensory detail, first of all, is a detail where you tell the reader and you show the reader what you felt, what you tasted, what you touched, what you heard, what you smelled. Okay, it's anything that kind of shows the reader what's happening instead of just telling them. Okay, here's an example. I could just say, Fred caught a fish. Does that have any sensory details in it? No, it's just summarizing what happened. Instead, I could add a simile and some sensory language here by saying, Fred burst through the door like a rocket. That's a simile, right? Smelling of fish and covered head to toe in muddy grime. I got one, he shouted. Okay, turn to your neighbor. What are the sensory details that you see here versus Fred caught a fish? What are sensory details? What do you mean by that? Yes, it said what he did to catch the fish. Yes, there's a simile in muddy grime. Yes, sensory details describe more about how you know he was muddy. I see similes describing himself. Okay, way more. I like this answer. Sensory details show way more details so you can picture it in your head. Yeah. Okay. What we feel, the smells, looks like. Okay, looks like we've got it. It's okay not to be done. We're going to move on. Scanning that. So now let's kind of do some guided practice all together. So we're going to look at a 6th grader. His name is Kai. And he has written a story about his dog, Jamp. We love to write about our dogs, he does too. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at his story and we're gonna ask ourselves, number one, does Kai have sensory details? Number two, did he write those sensory details from the what? The narrator's point of view. The what? The narrator's point of view. So are all of the details from his point of view? Okay, then you're gonna work with a partner to discuss these, and then you're gonna try this on your own. So, I'm gonna put it under the camera here. And we're gonna go through this story about Jamp, his dog. All right, so this is Kai's personal narrative before some revision with sensory details from the narrator's point of view. Reading with me, closed style. We ate, and just sat down watching the TV as a family. We usually just leave Jamp wandering in the house so he has freedom. My great-grandmother likes to sew and do so many cool things with fabric. She's been doing it all her life. Okay, pay close attention, writers. While we were watching TV, Jamp went to my great-grandmother's small shelf that had all the things she used for sewing. Then Jamp came running out of the room to us. Ah! I screamed as I saw Jamp cough up some blood onto the floor. He had swallowed a needle and was running in pain. My mom picked him up and took him to the vet quickly. Okay, turn and talk to your partner. Where are some sensory details that are not from the narrator's point of view? They're actually the dog's point of view. Talk with your partner. Where is it?
He isn't able to see it, but if he's coughing blood, after he introduced it, so that's the Jamp can run around the room.
5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2.
Yeah, they didn't know what to
I heard some great discussions. Who wants to take a stab at it? What are some details that are not from the narrator's point of view? They're actually from Jamp's point of view. Natalie, what do you see?
When he wanders into the great-grandmother's room.
Yeah, he wandered in. If they're out watching TV, do they know where he wandered? They know he left the room, but do they know where he wandered to? No. Okay, something else.
He was running around the room scratching everything.
Okay, maybe he would have come back into the room, and so the narrator could have seen this part, but what part couldn't he have seen, Aspen?
He had swallowed a needle.
Yeah, he was in the other room. Could the narrator have actually seen that he swallowed a needle? Now, he might have made that inference. He might have, assumed it's true because of the clues, but he wouldn't have, this detail would be a sensory detail that the narrator actually hadn't seen himself. Okay, so let's see how Kai revises his personal narrative, because this is the work you're going to be doing today. He says, I was sitting on the left side of the couch when my mom sitting next to me on the right. My great-grandma and grandma were sitting on the cushioned seats across from Jamp, and he was between my mom, snuggled between the cushions. Notice some more details right there. Can you see him snuggled? All right. My grandma smiled toward us and said, let Jamp get off the couch. Ooh, what did the writer add there? Dialogue, yeah. I knew Jamp wanted to wander around the house. I pet him and he jumped off the couch. As I turned to watch television, I what? Heard. That's a sensory detail. Okay, I heard Jamp's footsteps go into my great-grandmother's room. Okay, is this from the narrator's perspective now? Yeah, what he really could have heard and seen. Just a few minutes later, Jamp came running out of the room. His choking cough grabbed my okay. Choking cough would be something you could also what? Hear, sensory details. I looked over and I saw him coughing up blood. Oh, what you saw, another sensory detail. Ah! I screamed. Oh, a bit of what? Dialogue. I quickly stood up on the couch. I was too shocked to care about my grandmother's rule. Okay, turn and talk to your partner. How did Kai revise this to add sensory details from the narrator's point of view? You could start like this. He added sensory details from the narrator's point of view by, turn and talk. Oh, you brilliant minds. This is such a hard concept and all over the room. I hear kids with right answers. Hayden, can you repeat that real quick, what you were saying to Theo?
I thought it was important that when he gave the details that he could really see the dog and didn't infer where he went or what he ate.
Yeah, excellent job. Okay, very good job. Put your thumb up, like I'm understanding this. This is super clear for me. This is a little bit tricky. It's a pretty hard thing you're throwing at me this morning, Mrs. Weinrich, or whoa, I could really use some help with the converting time. Okay, good. You clip close to your heart if you're a little bit shy. Awesome. Okay, we're gonna move on to Pear Deck. And what we're gonna do now is you are gonna be looking through one of your flash drafts, and you're gonna be thinking about, first of all, what sensory details you have or that you could add. So do you have details that show what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, what you touch? And then you're gonna really work hard, and this is the most difficult piece, to think, hey, are these details, are these sensory details that I'm revising to add in today really things that you the narrator, experience? And you're gonna go back and revise one of your drafts using these sensory details from the narrator's point of view. Okay, think about what you heard, think about what you saw. You might not always have what you tasted or touched, but you might. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up our digital notebooks. We're gonna go through it and think, which story do I feel most connected to? Which is the story I wanna spend a few days revising, editing, working really hard on, and then turning in next week. If you already have some sensory details, what you can do is you can highlight them or put them in bold just to kind of show, oh yeah, I do have these in my story already. If you don't have any sensory details, try and just add one more thing that you heard, or you saw, or you felt, or you tasted, or you smelled. Highlight it, make sure that it's from your perspective. So find one of your stories, find one place where you've got sensory details.